Let's look at Love and Basketball, one of the early 2000s most popular black cinema love stories.
The film showcases the love story of Monica Sanaa Lathan and Quincy Omar Epps, two childhood friends who both aspire to be professional basketball players.
Over the years, Monica and Quincy experienced so many different kinds of love. Love for the game of basketball, love for each other, and love for their families.
We see Monica and Quincy as they try to figure out how to navigate the complications and conflicts of these competing loves of their lives.
Taking a closer look 24 years later, was the love depicted in this film healthy love?
We'll answer this question and more.
I'm Heit.
And I'm Cheri.
And you've discovered Axiom Amnesia.
We want to thank all of the supporters who helped to make this video possible. If you want your name to appear alongside these contributors, make a one-time donation via Cash App or click the thanks button on this video, or you can head on over to patreon.com/Axiom Amnesia or become a channel member by clicking the join button to enjoy all of the benefits of becoming a monthly subscriber. We're actually in quarter 4 of the film Love and Basketball. Up to this point, we've seen Monica and Quincy as kids, then we saw them in college at USC, and now we're going to see what happens next.
They show Monica who's running down the street, and she, it's a turn, right? Because the last scene we saw that Quincy basically just dropped her and she was looking all mad,
Standing in front of her dorms back at
A little
USC.
sad puppy dog. And then next thing you know, she's signing autograph for kids and they're speaking Spanish. She clearly became one of those players who became a professional who went over there to Europe to play. And she's on her way to work.
Hola, Mónica. Buena suerte.
It doesn't look like glitz and glam, right? Because she's, I guess, coming out of her apartment or whatever and running basically down the street to the arena wherever they practice.
Yeah, and she's in Barcelona, Spain. So, now she's plucked from one world into another world. And that seems to be the theme for Monica, right? When she was a kid, she moved to this new neighborhood. So she's now in a new environment. Then when she goes to college at USC, she's in a new environment with these new challenges. And now after she's left college and she's in Spain playing professional women's basketball, here's a whole new environment. And in addition to that, it's clear that everyone is speaking Spanish. The kids are speaking Spanish. And, I don't think Monica speaks Spanish, but let's see. Oh, and by the way, her hair looks different now, right? It's kind of like curly in the back and it's French braided in the front. I remember that hairstyle, or maybe it's twisted in the front. I don't remember. But, I remember variations of that hairstyle. Sometimes it'd be twisted in the front. Sometimes it'd be cornrowed in the front or French braided. However, I used to like that style.
How fake locks are, or faux locks, let me be couture. Faux locks are popular now. There was this time where they, some men would get twist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then because that was kind of it kind of looked like braids, but your hair is not quite long enough. And then there was this one style where they would kind of curve it over where it wasn't really long enough to get a twist.
Right.
And it's just very
So you'd have
weird.
these little corn kernel things in your hair. It was a little roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that style.
That's crazy.
¿Sabe por qué me enfermo? Porque sé que tengo que...
Monica is separate from the team, so they're in the locker room and you just hear Spanish,
The coach is talking in Spanish, getting them riled up.
Lo vamos a hacer como lo hemos hecho todo el año.
Yeah, so I don't think we're supposed to know what he says because she can't either. So we're kind of just separated like her too.
And
we're
she's just
isolated from
literally
everyone else.
in her own world. She's wrapping her feet and,
And he's talking about her. He's probably just give Monica the ball.
Le vamos a dar la pelota a Mónica para que nos dé 30 puntos.
Exactly. Somebody who is very fluent in Spanish, go to the comments and translate what the coach is saying for us. Because, we could run it through Google Translate or something, but my Spanish is not so great these days. So, let us know.
I was watching 3 Body Problem, and they did not put the text on the screen. Back in the day when they wanted you to know what they were saying, they would put text on the screen, right? And I think this is one of those situations where you're not really supposed to know. You're kind of supposed to feel like her. But I think you need to know that to know what's going on in that series. And the only way to do that is if you actually have closed caption on, which is kind of weird to me because I usually turn closed caption off. And nowadays they're making movies and shows where you have to turn it on so that if there are multiple languages, you could still follow what's going on.
Yeah, it's like it's complicated, and especially if you're streaming it on a particular site, you kind of have to do it in their settings. And then in some of it might be your TV setting, or it might be also both your settings. Like, for instance, we use Roku, right? So it might be the Roku settings and the actual settings that are from like Netflix or whatever. Yeah, it can get complicated. I remember, okay, so this is how old I am too. I remember when closed captions became kind of standard on TVs, because back in the past, for people who were hearing impaired, you would have to get like some type of converter or some type of box. You guys know this, where it would have the, attached to your TV screen. And it would do that, right? Yeah, with the closed caption. But then at some point, and I feel like maybe it was at some point in the 90s, I remember buying like one of my first TVs that was my own one, not like the TV set that was my parents'. And it allowed you to have closed captions. And I remember just thinking how cool that was, that, I could be watching TV and reading on there, instead of watching it. And, you look at it now, and it's weird because it kind of feels like a nuisance sometimes. If you're not hearing impaired, it may feel like a nuisance because it's covering parts of the screen. And then now the film itself might have different things that, it's telling you and whatever. But, that just kind of reminded me of closed captions since you talked about that.
So then she's being coached and she don't know what the coach is saying. So she goes to another player, Louisa, and she asks Louisa, what did he say?
So what did he say? He said to give the ball to you.
Louisa confirms what we were thinking. He say, give the ball to you, and Louisa's looking sad.
Yeah, because she doesn't get to like really play to her full potential. It's like we've got this star player from the United States and just give her the ball so we can win, right? Because again, and we talked about this in previous breakdowns, what is the goal of the coach? The coach wants to win games, right? Just like when we talked about how Sidra got the injury and she was supposed to return to her role after she came back from her injury while Monica was substituting. But then what does the coach do? Hey, Monica's playing really well. Sidra, you're out of a job, right? Because the coach wants the best player to play. Whoever's playing well, that's who they want. And it's not about, let me just develop this player and do whatever. The coach wants to win games.
Yeah. And some people mentioned that the coach wasn't toxic because of whatever, I don't know, kind of sort of hazing rituals that were going on. And I think we may have said that, tongue in cheek, that what she is doing is toxic, because I think it was a comparison to, people always using the word toxic for every situation.
Right. And the broader point was that we ought to be consistent in our assessment of these things. So if you look over here and you're calling this toxic when somebody else does something else in another setting, then you got to call that toxic too, if that's what we're calling toxic.
And if it's about like feelings and, emotions and stuff, when you have a team of women, is it toxic for a coach to just be like, yeah, I don't care about none of y'all, just give her the ball so that I can get the wins, and or we, and then somehow we all share.
Yeah, somehow it's we won, but whatever contributions that each individual player makes.
But clearly, each individual player has an issue with it, which would make it toxic if I spoke in those terms. Monica runs into Sidra, her only friend, basically, because, everybody speaks another language, and I guess Louisa probably does. But she runs into, someone familiar.
What's up, Sidra?
When you go anywhere in the world or anywhere around the country and you see it's like, oh, another black person, you know what I'm saying? Or somebody that you just got this kinship. Like sometimes you might run into somebody who you didn't really have a relationship with, but you like, oh, I know you.
And you're happy to see them. And I'll tell you, let me say for sure, like when I lived in Mexico for a couple years, I remember that anytime that I would see somebody black, it was like, you just secretly smiled, when I was at the immigration office or whatever, because that's usually when I would run in the most black people. And, you'd look across the room and give that knowing glance because it just feels good to recognize somebody who feels like home. Now, here's what would be funny. What would be funny is most of the Black folks that I would meet there, they were not actually from the United States. So we were like smiling and, giving each other the nod and the look. And they weren't even from my culture, let's say. They weren't from the United States. A lot of them were from, were continental Africans or from other parts of the world. But they were, not from where I was from. But even still, we were just smiling because we were like, hey, another Black person. And before somebody else says it, yes, there are Afro-Mexicans. But where I was living in Guadalajara, there weren't nearly as many. And then the first place that I lived, it was kind of like a town where a lot of people who would come from the United States and Europe would retire. So there were a lot of English speakers in the first small town that I lived in. And so I just literally did not run into many either Afro-Mexicans or, Black folks from anywhere else in the world. And the other thing about the Afro-Mexicans was still when you would talk to somebody or whatever, you want to be able to speak the language, and my Spanish was not that great. So, language barriers really do make you feel somewhat isolated. And I can't help but kind of relate that to Monica in this situation. But also back to her seeing Sidra, she's going out to the game and everything. And she's like, hey, Sidra, right? Speaking of Sidra, we were just talking about her. But how the tables have turned, right? Sometimes the people who don't like us or we don't like them or we're at odds with each other is completely situational. It has nothing to do with whether we could get along in a different setting or whether we might like each other in a different setting, right? It was that they were competitors who were competing against each other on the same team for the same spot at that time at
Capitalism.
USC. Yes. But like in this case, they're like, Sidra's like, giving her, the flack, like, yeah, I'm not on crutches now. We over here.
This ain't college and I ain't on crutches.
But, so they're healthy competition talking a little mess, but clearly they seem a lot friendlier than they were, even when they were on the same team.
I'm going to love winning this championship in your house.
But I want to know, how did they not know they were playing against each other?
Yeah, that might be a little bit of a script kind of, Well, because look, here's the other thing. If you know that you are like the only Black person on the team and you're from someplace else, and you're going to know all the, American players who are playing. And then the
championship game and stuff, and you probably already played against each other and stuff. But
they would have known. They would have known. But, okay, I'll let it slide for the sake of the film. It's supposed to be a surprise.
Yeah, because basically, it's kind of like, you're trying to take us as an audience on a trip too, because we bump into Sidra like, what you doing here?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? But that probably wouldn't have been Monica's situation. Real quick, as adults, we don't get to see the games, which, at least in this case, which I think is very noble of the filmmakers. Because when I watch these basketball and just general, when you have, these kind of films that's based on these specific arts and events like dancing or, different types of stuff like that, I don't really want to see it so much all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they spend a lot of time in it playing football, playing basketball, these long dance scenes. But I guess if you're into dance, it may be good. But the thing about, like, with sports, a lot of the times you're not actually watching a game, right? But if you're watching people dance, you're actually watching them dance. If you're watching someone make music or something, you're watching them do that. But in these situations, it's not all, you don't get the enjoyment of what's going on in the game necessarily.
Well, and it's a cue from the filmmakers that what the important thing at this point is the relationships, is what's actually happening outside of the game.
That damn thing off the table. Oh, you mean my championship trophy?
Monica has dinner with Sidra, and basically what happened is she just won a championship, and she's not happy.
What are these Spanish guys like?
I wouldn't know.
What?
And they have a discussion prior to us really knowing how unhappy she was, talking about how she had been there for 7 months.
Right.
You mean you've been over here 7 months and you ain't tapped nothing?
And we get an inkling when she asks Sidra if she ever thinks about going back to the U.S.
Yeah.
You ever think about going back?
Sometimes.
And then Sidra's response to her is like, well, what's the alternative? Not playing?
But what's the alternative? not playing.
So it's a very black and white thing. And Sidra also adds that they treat us like Hollywood stars here.
They treat us like Hollywood stars over here.
We saw how the girls were waiting out there to get Monica's autograph when she was running to the arena. You know, like they're a big deal over there. But if they go back home, you know, they basically get no fanfare, get nothing. They talk about Big Tony, right? And I think that's the same girl who in the previous breakdown was in the locker room talking about how she was going to go overseas and play.
When she was a freshman.
Right.
When Monica was a freshman.
Right. And she quit. Right. She quit. And then Sidra's like, she back at working at a bookstore.
She quit last year and now she works at some bookstore.
You know.
Is she the manager at least?
You know, and so it's just a stark difference. So not only are you giving up what you love, but then you're like relegated to working at a bookstore. Not that working at a bookstore is a bad thing, but by comparison, when your love is something completely else, then, you know, it seems really kind of bad, but you can tell on Monica's face how lonely she is. But as a sidebar, did you notice like how Sidra was like, hey, you know what these guys over here like in Spain, you know, because Sidra is in Italy and she's like, the guys over there, they like black women.
Them Italian boys, they love them some black women. They can't get enough of me.
Well, basically, Sidra is over there sowing her wild oats. You know, she sees the guys in Barcelona and she's like, yeah, you know, like what they got going on over here. So Sidra is literally living her best life and she seems happy.
This is a very progressive film. But see, the thing is, like, when you're actually watching a film, this is only about 4 minutes after we saw Quincy basically drop her in front of the dorm. So it's fresh, even though however much time may have passed. If they would have had strung it out long enough, then you really wouldn't get that feeling of, okay, it's basically because she's still not over Quincy. And I think that was pretty good.
Yeah.
How to put that.
Yeah. And the other thing is that, you know, Monica at the beginning of the dinner has her trophy where she's won this championship out on the table. So it's established that because the way that they make it, assuming that the coach on Sidra's team from Italy says the same thing. Hey, pass the ball to Sidra, pass the ball to Monica, right? On her team, it's almost like they're one-on-one, if you will. Like the other players are made almost irrelevant. So here they are in their rematch, right? And Monica is the winner. You know, and Sidra is the loser. And it's interesting how both of them fell into being able to handle winning and losing, and also where that fits in their life. You know, Sidra lost, but she was still in great spirits. And she jokingly says to Monica, like, you still cocky, you know?
You are still a cocky bitch.
But Monica won, but she's not nearly as happy as she used to be just based on a basketball win.
And I think it shows the differences in like fanfare, and because she talked about how you're treated like Hollywood stars, but they're really not, right? Because you don't get the NBA treatment. It ain't like we got rings, big celebration and stuff. Because after the men in the NBA win, they ain't going to sit down and have a dinner with somebody from the opposing team.
And the fact that you could even be uninterrupted at dinner.
Yeah, you're
and
uninterrupted.
Sit somewhere public.
You have this little bitty trophy that you just put on the table right here.
And how come you have the trophy? Like the team doesn't get to keep
everybody
it, or you
probably get a trophy. That's what I'm saying. But the men get all this other stuff. You know, they popping champagne and getting rings later on. You know what I'm saying? But you just got a trophy like you won a high school game. But this is the best that it gets for a female athlete.
Which is way better than it is in the United States at that point. But it's just nothing compared to the NBA.
What we see is, I don't want to laugh, but Monica already did. Monica is watching Family Matters, you know, because she's sad after her victory, and it has Spanish voiceovers.
So she can't even watch it in peace. Maybe you just gotta watch it and remember what the episode was. So you just, I don't know. But like, she's so sad.
Bruh, they did a good job of making her look so...
Yeah, well, the music
everything
is playing.
It's
just sad. She is sad. But she's sad, lonely, and isolated. But we have to remember, like, this is about 4 years after we last saw Monica when her and Quincy broke up. So it can't just be that she's so sad because of their breakup or not having him, or maybe she's been semi-depressed like this before, because when you think about it, when she was in high school and she was focused on only on basketball and everything else, we didn't see any friends of hers, any, like girlfriends, people she's hanging out with. Monica was always a loner. It was Monica in basketball and Quincy when he was in the picture. But so this idea that Monica can't be alone and by herself, from what we knew of her, was not the issue. So it has to be something more than just, I can't deal with being by myself and in this other country.
So we see her, watching TV, and then the TV changes over, and it's a basketball game. It's the Lakers.
It's in the refrigerator. The door is closed, the lights are out.
And we see that, your boy Quincy done made it to the Lakers, right?
And here come the subs. And it's nice to see the subs get a chance to play.
Because his daddy played for the Clippers, the worst team, and at the time Lakers was killing it. Yeah. So now his son is on the best team. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But then we see that he's just a scrub, basically.
He's on the substitutes.
Subbed in, and they're like, it's nice to see him just get a chance to play. You know, so then they show him he's not doing that well. So him miss a shot.
Quincy's got the ball over in the corner, puts up a three-pointer. That's no good.
And it's like excitement. Here come Quincy McCall.
Quincy makes a steal. He's on his way. Open court. Look out, folks.
And then he dunks the ball, and he hurt himself because he showboated.
He really hasn't changed, right? And what are these 4 years? We don't know what the 4 years for Monica was exactly like, but we know that, hey, she's, finished school presumably, and then, she went on to the professional league in Europe. But for Quincy went right after we last saw him. He went into the draft. He got drafted.
The former Trojan came out after his freshman year.
And the sportscaster says he's moved around quite a bit, but now he's trying to find a home at the Lakers, right?
He's moved around quite a bit, but now he's trying to find a home with these Lakers.
Why do you assume it's 4 years?
Because that's how long it takes to get a college degree. And I don't.
Yeah, so at least 4 years. That don't mean it is 4 years.
At least 4 years. So that was my point. My point was that it's not like the next year or a few months, or when we talked about 7 months. She's already been in Barcelona for 7 months, Monica has. Yeah. But she's finished with school, and so at some point after that. So if she went the route like Big Tony, then, her senior year, right after that, she was getting drafted into the European, basketball leagues or whatever.
So he probably, I don't know, he got to be lucky though, because for somebody to not play on these small squads like basketball teams to get moved around, that's pretty impressive though. But yeah, eventually you're just gonna be out anyway if you don't be able to get on, because I don't want to be on a team like the Lakers and stuff, or let's just say a successful team, if you're not good enough to make it up there to at least be a sixth man.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be gone pretty soon.
Yeah. And what else does this scene tell us? It tells us, hey, look, Zeke is at a bar, probably that same bar he was when he was talking to Quincy, talking about, when you get big time like me, then you got women trying to say you they baby daddy. So their relationship has been impacted. I mean, he would be at the game. He's right there in LA. He would have been at the game if his relationship with Quincy, was good. So clearly their relationship devolved probably even more after, that point.
And it's basically, this is what I warned you about. You're not, thriving. I like the contrast with Monica, who is just having great success. Tables have certainly turned.
Yep.
And it makes you be like, that's right. It's like, that's what you deserve after seeing what happened.
For Quincy, but look, you fell, you hurt yourself when you were showboating. You still haven't changed. You still haven't been, quote,
and
humbled in a sense. Life hasn't humbled you yet. So Zeke shows up at the hospital. So at least he's like, I got to go check on my son. And he sees Nona in the hallway.
How is it?
Not great.
So we had asked before, like, hey, are they going to break up or not, or what's going to happen? So clearly they broken up, because Nona looking like, who is you? But anyway, he comes up to Nona, Quincy's mother, and he's just like, what's going on? And she tells him that Quincy tore his ACL.
He tore his ACL.
And he ain't going to want to see you.
And he won't want to see you.
Or whatever. And so he diverts attention. He's like, well, almost didn't recognize you with your hair like that. How you been? Because Zeke has had it hard, no doubt.
Almost didn't recognize you with your hair like that. How you been?
He probably got, that paternity suit probably took a big chunk of change. That divorce took a big chunk of change for him. And Zeke is just sitting lonely in the bar now but he's like, maybe I can get that old thing back. He like, how you been? She say happy.
Happy.
And then she walks over and Nona got a new man who is there helping to her to support her son through this, tragic event that has occurred.
What's crazy about these events and stuff like this is that the dude who she got with now, he even more successful than the one she left, who she kept complaining about? Because that's part of this story with their relationship, is that she wasn't happy because of whatever scouting job or whatever he had that he thought would lead to something greater. Was this man that she got with even a greater position, I guess, financially?
Yeah,
right.
He might be. It's the question is like, is he as good? So all of the things that make men, quote unquote, attractive to women, does he have the money? Is he good looking? Is he good to her? Is she looking for different things at this point in her life? I would say yes.
Yeah, but I would say that a lot of the times that's not how it is, right? It's like, the grass is greener, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's not making this much and all of this. And then you just end up with basically the same person again.
But was it because...
Not outside of the, the cheating and all of that sort of stuff, just those sort of...
The money. So I think that he was doing the cheating, talking about Zeke. Zeke was cheating and the money was going down. When Zeke was cheating and the money was there, it's like, well, at least we got this money, right? But then when he's cheating and in your face, not coming home, your relationship is suffering, and you got to pinch pennies. Well, and of course, all things relative. They still had a nice place and everything.
Looking back on that argument, did she even mention that he was out there with somebody else? Or is just that something she did? You know what I'm saying? As passive aggressive, right? To not confront that specifically. You were out at this time. You must be fucking them hoes. You know what I'm saying? And she's like, well, you need a better job, basically. And then that's the argument that you have instead of the argument that you quote should have had.
The real deal. But she was put it this way. You may be right. She was always mad about him having 1 a.m. meetings and meetings that were late or spend a little time with the family. And now at what I think is an inappropriate time, at late nights and whatever, you talking about you got a quote unquote meeting. That sounds like some foolishness. But at the same time, she did say when she was talking to Quincy at the pool, she said, all the evidence basically that she's had throughout the years, but I still had to see it for myself. And when she hires the private investigator to give her the picture so she could actually see it.
Yeah, but I'm talking about just the nature of that argument. Was that a bigger issue? Because that's all we go by, even though that isn't what even the argument was about.
Yeah.
And then we make our views of people based on that.
That's true.
And that's our assessment of who she is as a wife and a mother too.
That's true. And, maybe she wasn't unhappy because he was cheating. She was unhappy because he was cheating and she didn't get what she felt like she was putting up with the cheating for.
I'm saying the opposite.
Oh, okay.
She was unhappy that he was cheating, but she started an argument on something else and not confronting the cheating.
Yeah. Well, I don't know anybody who would be happy that, they're getting cheated on. But yeah. Her consolation prize was impacted and she focused on the consolation, which was the money, instead of just being like, look, you out in these streets. I love you. You're cheating and it's a problem. Right. And maybe because that was her fear. Her fear was that he'd be like, well, look, I found, a younger, somebody else to put in Gucci and gold,
That's how
and
Monica
she didn't
was,
want, right.
basically.
And she didn't want him to leave. So that could be why.
So the whole reason really that Zeke showed up was because I don't think he was showing up before, because he ain't seen her that long. And, if he has to be told that Quincy wouldn't want to see him, then he clearly wasn't around, right? Because this is the first time showing up, because he was watching. And this is basically the worst that can happen to an athlete who's trying to compete on that level, or even to get to that level, right? Oh, it looks like an injury. I need to go and try to at least be a good father now again.
And be supportive,
because this is over.
Maybe we should talk to Dr. Pratt about, what does a torn ACL injury do to a, professional basketball player? And like, what, was this actually career ending and everything like that? And if you're not familiar with Dr. Pratt, we've had him on our other channel, Axiom Amnesia, and he talks about like these different injuries and stuff like that have happened in these movies we watch and how realistic it is and kind of gives us more background.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But one of the things is what level you're at, right? He was on the bench. If this is Nick Van Exel, right, or somebody else, Kobe Bryant, you know what I'm saying? Then you get injured, then you're not losing your spot. But if you down here and you get injured, we gonna make room for somebody who could at least run it up and down the court. We're not saving a spot for you.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Hey, son.
Zeke is in that hospital room, and first thing he says is, "Well, you made Sports Center."
You made Sports Center. What do you want?
Which, like, is just, Zeke says the wrong thing.
That's the right thing because it's,
oh my gosh.
Bruh, probably as a kid, if you think you're going to the league, what you want to do, you want to be on Sports Center. I don't know how Sports
Center. Well, he was talking about Sports Center as a kid, right? Or even as a high school and college player.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why my point. Like, if you an athlete and you come up during the time that there was Sports Center where they show all the highlights and everything, you want to be on Sports Center.
But not for an injury.
It doesn't matter. You want to be on Sports Center. And you made it, which means that you have a level of, reached a certain level, right? Because they ain't putting just anybody. Even if, let's say, because I know basketball, again, the teams are much smaller. If somebody gets injured on the Carolina Panthers squad, they ain't going to be on Sports Center about it. You know what I'm saying? But at least he's at a level where he made it to Sports Center, which is, to me, I believe that indicates something,
it's an accomplishment.
that he's trying to convey onto his son, who really ain't trying to hear nothing, because what he says is, things look bleak after that. I know things look bleak.
I know things look kind of bleak right now.
Yeah, and we find out that it's been 5 years. 5 years.
Came by to check on you.
After 5 years.
And, Zeke is talking to him. He's like, it feels like you divorced me the same time as your mom.
Seems like you divorced me the same time as your mom.
So pretty much they were like no contact this whole time. And Zeke is also saying like it takes two to tango. Like, because he's saying, I came to check on you. He like, you ain't checked on me in 5 years.
Don't remember that being all my fault.
But at the same time, if Quincy was rejecting him, and Quincy was, but last time we saw Zeke and Quincy together, he really did reject him in that room. How many times is Zeke supposed to go back and keep trying for Quincy to, give him a chance?
Forever?
Now, I think forever, but I also say that's easy to say when you're not on the receiving end of the rejection. But Zeke did have a responsibility to do it, and he did fall down. But at least when Quincy probably needed him the most, he did make the effort. But here's the thing. If he had been making the effort over time, right, even if Quincy rejected him 50 million times in the last 5 years, when he came this time, Quincy's response might have been a little bit different, So
yeah. So my thing is, we use the term pick me and stuff. And right nowadays, people think of these relationships as the same, right? Your relationship with your parents is the same as any stranger off the street or a neighbor or a significant other, right? So then, I think of them differently, right? So and to say like, okay, a father should, or a parent, keep trying over and over. Yeah. But if it was someone else like Monica, who had built up love much in the same way that a parent relationship or any other relative who really wants to be in a life because they love someone, then you get this derogatory term thrown on you. This pejorative of pick me.
Right.
When it's just basically, to me, what you should do if that is the case, right? If I've known this girl for 20 years, 25 years, however long, right? And, I'm in love. It is nothing wrong to just keep trying to make that happen or to keep trying to maintain that relationship at all.
Yeah. And I mean, even like with parents, and like you said, they just look at parents or your siblings. If y'all have an argument or a disagreement, see, here's the deal, right? It's like no matter what the disagreement is, no matter what the argument is, that is the relationship. And this is how I look at it, because I know some of y'all be like, I go no contact with my family. That ain't me. So no matter what the offense is, I'm going into it knowing that forgiveness is already going to happen. Now, I might be pissed and I might be salty or whatever, but forgiveness is going to happen because that's my insert whatever that familial relationship or familiar relationship, right? If I've been with you, if I've known you, you know, if that's your mate, your spouse, your whatever, then they get grace that the person off the street doesn't get. You know, I mean, they ought to anyway. And
that's how I see the relationship between Monica and Quincy, because they've been in each other's lives the entire time. Just think about, like, it's a little different, but because you may meet your cousins a little earlier, but sometimes you don't, right? So it's just like that. You've been around your cousins for however long these people have been around, which is a pretty long time. And they basically, quote, become family, right? Even though it's not family, they built this great bond of at least friendship.
Well, what builds the bond of any relationship? What builds
Probably
it?
time.
Yes, that is exactly the word.
Time together.
Time together. And so the less time you have together, generally speaking, the weaker the bond is going to be.
And in these romances and stuff, you know, they usually have something like that, right? And I think that there's a lot of misuse of the term pick me, right? Where pick me would be someone who you go into anybody for something, right? And
you're
saying,
desperate.
Pick me, sort of like the athletes who are going like like Quincy going team to team, be like, come on, somebody come get me. That's a sort of a pick me. And if you put that out to a relationship, then it's just someone who is trying to just go for any person that they can get and trying to get into a relationship or whatever with them. And that's how I look at it. But people don't. They watch these movies nowadays. And if someone has, 20-year relationship, or let's say 10, 15-year relationship, then somehow they're pick me when they're really just trying to reestablish a relationship with someone who they had this great bond with over many years.
Yes. And so, Quincy is angry, but why is Quincy so angry?
Don't get down on yourself.
Stopped taking your advice a long time ago.
We know what happened and we know that he cheated. So is every son whose father cheats on the mother this angry as Quincy was? No, the crux of why Quincy is angry is because it upset Quincy's understanding of the world. He believed in his father. He believed in how his father said the world was. And when something happens that upsets how you understand the world, it's not just that relationship. It's that now I got to reevaluate everything. Everything I thought I knew may not be true. And when you're young and impressionable, that can be a difficult thing for some people to get over, and this holds true whether, and it doesn't have to just be the parent cheating or something. This could be anything. It could be the parent cheating. It could be finding out some type of, family secret. It could be, something else happening. It could be some type of event happening to the person, like, some type of SA or, anything else that happens where there is some type of a betrayal of trust, of understanding. That can be really hard and it takes a lot to get over. So I don't necessarily know that Quincy is wrong for still being mad at his dad, but maybe what he's wrong for and I don't know, maybe wrong isn't the right word. Maybe what he's not mature enough for is to recognize that they're still your daddy, and the time that you lose being angry, there's going to be a price for that too.
You want me to step off, man?
Yeah.
Fine.
So.
Yeah, and he asked, how come you couldn't be the man you kept trying to make me?
How come you couldn't be the man you kept trying to make me?
Oh, man. And he says, I just couldn't, I just couldn't.
I just couldn't, son.
But here's what I think. I think when people have and are aware of their own personal failings, sometimes they are really trying to have their, offspring not make those same mistakes. So they are drilling it home with them. But at the same time, it can be really hard when you're holding somebody else to expectations that you yourself couldn't meet. And that is part of the, difficulty of wanting better for your children, but the kids can be rough. They'll look back and be like, well, you didn't do blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? So that can be hard too. But there is something else that I caught in this scene for the first time that I didn't really catch before. And that is that, Quincy's father is actually apologizing and affirming Quincy in a way that he never did before. He's telling him like, hey, I'm encouraging you. Don't get down on yourself. And he says, you're a better ball player than I ever was.
You're a better ball player than I ever was.
And then he gives literally Quincy the same speech that Monica's mother gave her about basketball when it looked like she wasn't going to be drafted or, picked or whatever for college, right?
Accepted for
USC. Yeah. And he's like, that's not the only thing you have going for you. Basketball is not the only thing you have going for you.
That ain't the only thing you got going for you.
Clearly it's not.
You have other things going for you.
You're smart, Quincy.
And that is the same speech that Monica's mother gives her. So we're looking at two very flawed parents, flawed humans, flawed people, like we all are, right? Who are flawed in different ways, but literally are coming to the same conclusion because of their love for their children. Yeah. Monica's mother is loving her the only way she knew how, but she understood, hey, this might be the end of your basketball career. And if it is, you got other things going for you. And the same thing for Zeke in this moment.
Yeah. I always knew that you could do anything you wanted to.
And it's clearly about throwing the baby out with the bathwater too, right? Because okay, your daddy could have been a terrible daddy, which he wasn't, right? Because he was pretty good to him up until the zoo found out what actually happened to him, and ended up breaking up the family, I guess. But you have that whole thing going on to be like, he's a terrible man, throw him all away.
Got options.
But he is here to comfort his son, and he's still trying to guide him in the same way that he tried to guide him in the past. Is that bad too? Just because he was messing around with old girl who was hanging around in the hotel lobbies and stuff, and possibly had a baby. But that's basically how it is, because we've come to a point where throwing the baby out with the bathwater is just being normalized.
And you brought up that point, who possibly had a baby. We still don't know if that was his baby. We still don't know if that was actually his baby. We just know that it was a paternity suit, but we don't know that that was the case. Quincy is crying, and the last time he saw Zeke, Quincy was crying too. He cried after his father left the room, left his dorm room, and now he cries again after his father leaves the, hospital
Were
room.
men crying, or black men crying in movies in the 90s?
I don't think they were.
Huh.
I have to think about
that. Very
that.
progressive movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in stark contrast to what was going on with their daddy, when Monica show up, he's very happy and smiling.
Monica.
I'm shocked Monica is there, because I'm like, Monica, girl, ain't you in Barcelona?
Bruh,
what you doing?
Her season just ended, just like his. But but he's smiling like, dang, because he know he messed up. He didn't have time to cool down after. Like, just think about it. It was a couple days he found out about his dad. He's like, I'm declaring for the draft. Like, bruh, you ain't even take no time to really let things settle to figure out what you should be doing. But now, he had time to realize that what he done was kind of messed up. But it's very interesting that how he could patch that relationship up easily, right? Just like, hey, how you doing? You're here, smiling, versus the daddy where it's still like, man, I don't want to talk to you. I want you to leave.
Yeah, because I think in these 5 years, he realized that Monica didn't do nothing to him, and he still feel like his daddy did, maybe. Or, he hadn't seen Monica in so long. He's just like, oh my goodness, a breath of fresh air. And look at Monica coming in with some flowers for him and everything. And he's, there in his hospital gown with his little booty hanging out.
And I thought this was going to be awkward.
What? It's true. And he's like, oh, trying to hide it. But, she done already seen it all. So it's just kind of funny that, how it is.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Quincy and Monica are talking, trying to catch up. And, he's like, I heard you were in Spain. And
heard you were in Spain.
I was.
And she's joking with him. I see your peach fuzz finally grew in.
Peach fuzz finally grew in.
one thing I do kind of like is in movies how, you know, they make him have facial hair. They do some physical change, like her hairstyle and so on, to let you know, and even like Nona's hairstyle is different, right? To let you know that time has actually passed. And so, you know, they're joking around with each other.
And he's styling himself like his daddy, though, too.
So, is he morphing into Zeke? But, and maybe that's like subconscious, right? You know, I don't physically have my, dad in my life because we done fell out or whatever. But now I'm going to grow a goatee and try to style myself exactly like him. So he still is trying to be, you know, you don't let that go just because you mad, you know. So they're joking, and he's like, "You still trying to be the first girl in the NBA and blah, blah, blah."
You still trying to be the first girl in the NBA, huh?
And she's just like, "Yeah, you know, I tried to sneak in, but they found breasts during my physical."
I tried sneaking in after college, but they found breasts during my physical.
And he's like, "Funny, I never did."
That's funny. I never did.
So what's hilarious is that like now he's talking about that old thing, right? You know, their old relationship and the physical part of what they had together. And then she's like, you know, or they're like, "I can't believe it's been 5 years."
Can't believe it's been 5 years.
Yeah. And what's come clear is that she's been avoiding him, you know, and he's been trying to call her and stuff, and she just basically ignored him.
I tried calling you a couple of times.
Oh, yeah?
And he turned into the pick-me.
And then blamed her answer machine because he's like, "I tried calling you a couple of times."
Oh, Magic retired. I tried again.
And then she clearly didn't. And you could look at her face and tell she did not. She's the one who said, "No, Quincy," you know, and she's like, "Must have been my answer machine."
Bruh,
It's been my cheap-ass answering machine. It was always messing up.
that thing ain't been acting right, huh?
But then she explains that, you know, he's like, "So when you going back?"
So when you going back?
And she's like, "I'm not going back." So
I'm not.
now we find out that she's quitting. She is not returning to Barcelona.
Has it only been one season or has it been 2 seasons?
I feel like it's been 7 months. It's probably been 1 season.
Yeah, well, 7 months in Barcelona. He been out 5 years, so maybe, I don't know. It just depends on how long she stayed in college.
But I'm going to assume she did
I'm
one
gonna say
season.
It's 1 season, these 7 months, and she like, that's it. And she basically is like, she don't love it no more, right? And,
Basketball just isn't fun for me anymore.
but while she still can play and has the opportunity to play, and she like, you know?
And he's
you know,
like, "No."
No.
You know?
No.
Because he does still love the game and want to play, but he can't play. And it's like that thing of some people, you know, aren't, you know, not being, it assumed that somebody's not grateful for what they have and opportunities they have, right? Like his daddy was telling him, you have all these opportunities that you're not taking, and he feels the same about her, but he don't get to express it because Tyra Banks walks in.
Yes.
Quincy.
Hey, man.
And they are reunited. They're reunited because we saw them as a couple, you know, DEJA and Malik in Higher Learning, which, by the way, we will link in the description because we do have a full breakdown of the movie Higher Learning. And we have another video that is like a specific look at their relationship in that movie. And that is on this channel. So if you haven't seen it, check out both of those other videos.
Hello. Hi.
Tyra Banks, first thing we notice is that she's a girly girl. I think she's a flight attendant, you know, so she's everything that physically, I mean, she's beautiful. She's a girly girl. So there's not this whole, oh, you know, are not dolled up and everything thing with her. And she's like, oh, you know, and then he introduces them to one another.
Baby, this is Monica.
And she's like, "Monica, you guys grew up together. Quincy's told me all about you."
Oh, you guys grew up together, right? Well, Quincy's told me all about you.
Girl, I doubt Quincy told you all about Monica. He might have mentioned her and talked about how great she was, but did he tell you they had a whole relationship?
Well, that's why she said you grew up together. She didn't say, oh, you was ex from college.
Yeah.
But Monica came by to get that old thing back, right?
That's what she came for.
When Kara walked in, basically, she looked all uncomfortable. And then when she finds out it's his fiance.
Monica, this is Kara, my fiance.
Then she like, oh, wait, what? Your fiance? Wow.
Fiance? Wow.
And then she waved the ring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And I don't know, do women still do that? Like, just, or is it a lot of, yes. Okay, I thought things changed a little bit. But so she was like, wow, but not in that, tone as we would do it today. Wow,
fiance. Wow. I was here to get that old thing back. Wow. I didn't know you had a woman. Wow.
I wouldn't have even came if I knew you had a fiance.
I done told you I ain't going back. I'm going back now. Oh, well, what's the point? Because the reason she was saying that she was leaving is because, her phone bill is high. She don't have no friends. She's isolated over there.
And I'm over there by myself. No family, no friends.
Nah, that ain't why she left. She left to come get Quincy.
Yeah, but that's the reason, right? See, if she could get, hold up. Oh, man, Monica is toxic. So she was there sad. She ain't have family and all that. I believe all that's true.
Yeah.
She saw he got hurt and he wasn't playing. I'm coming to get you so you could come over here while I play because I know you ain't playing no more.
That was going to be the move. Monica was like, just come on. You got your passport.
I know. You ain't going to play no more. Soon as she seen him on Sports Center, she was like, hold on. Jumped on that plane.
On that midnight train to Georgia. And a lot of you did in one of the questions in one of our previous videos, we asked, what was the original midnight train to Georgia? And a lot of you got that right. The midnight plane to Houston.
Yeah.
Anyhow. So, Monica's understanding it got twisted because she did not expect Quincy to have a fiance. And since Quincy is a little semi-famous, maybe she thought she would have heard. Now, surely if the internet was stronger and more used in the year 2000, everybody would have known because you could have just Googled Quincy's name and they could be like, oh, his fiance is this. And they'd even have pictures of her. So she didn't even have to take the whole trip from Europe.
A YouTube channel.
Yeah, they'd had a YouTube channel. Talk about Carol and Quincy, they're getting married soon and they'd been following them step by step. But yeah, so Monica is disappointed.
Yeah. And see, she probably would have known if he was a bigger star though too. Mm-hmm. But he was just basically a nobody in the NBA.
Yes. So what is Monica gonna do?
And she was just like, all right, I'm leaving. Bye. Because I just came here to take him back to Barcelona.
Which is also a replay of when Monica saw him with Monica Calhoun's character, Carrie, back in USC in college.
Carrie?
What did she do? She dismissed
Carrie and Cara, bruh. Come on, y'all doing
Carrie
this to us?
and Carol, right? So she dismissed herself then too. I better go, right? So here we're seeing a repetition. These are patterns that even if you didn't exactly pick up on it, it's, subconsciously you're seeing the same response. Monica sees another woman, boom, okay, I'm done. And that's, what happens here. So so now we're at the point, what is Monica gonna do? What is Quincy gonna do? He got a whole fiance, which you might as well say is like a pre-wife. So it's pretty serious. Like, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
Now you said you coming back. You probably didn't sign your paperwork. I'm sure Monica's like, dang, I better go back on over there then, because the only reason she came home was for him.
A pick-me would have said, all right, I'm just gonna stick around. Let me go sit down right here.
Let me see, can I turn the tables?
What time you go to work, girl?
I know, and then show up over there every time she's gone. I know it's some of y'all out in the audience who like that. Now, most of us are not this way, but okay. So that's where we are. So we will continue with this full breakdown because we really get into the meat of it all, right? They done took us on a roller coaster. The Quincy and Monica done broke up. Now we like, ooh, maybe they can get together because he done messed himself up and in the hospital, and maybe Monica can nurse him back to health and the relationship can be what it was, but even better. But
if you made it this far into this part, whatever, of this nice long breakdown, type wow in the comments so we'll know you're one of the real ones who stick around.
Yes, and be sure to watch this video that's on the screen right now.